Welcome back, Wolfpack Verlis here, and I'm happy to review Zoroark for Jonathan, awesome Patreon donor for an awesome Pokemon that I think Zoroark heavily overlooked. Very strong Pokemon, has a lot of potential, can be a very outplay, high skill cap Pokemon. I think that a lot of people don't pick it up because of it, but that could be one of Zoroark's strengths, that since it isn't used a lot. You can pick up Zoroark, become a very niche player, understand where it excels, and become very, very strong from it. So Zoroark has a lot of potential, and it does have really good stats to work with. That when I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, I remember Zoroark having 120 special attack and 105 speed. It's pretty good. It's not like the best for a sweeper, and the defenses are pretty low, but it also has mixed capabilities with a 105 attack, and it can just excel pretty heavily. Now, it is a pure dark type Pokemon, which means it's not going to have too much stab, but it does have its own little strengths, and the 105 speed on a speedy nature is going to look pretty nice and have a high chance to outspeed a lot of Pokemon. Now, the main thing about Zoroark, illusion ability. That it's going to appear as the last Pokemon in your party, and this is where you might need to take advantage of an opponent. That if you're not paying attention to the last Pokemon in their party, that you're not being aware of when it could be Zoroark, when it could not be Zoroark, you can use that as a mind game and become very successful with it. That you would also like to use Zoroark as a Pokemon that plays to the immunities and resistances. That it resists Ghost, Dark, and Psychic, so you want to play Pokemon that are weak against those things. A Pokemon like a Poison type Pokemon. They might be like, oh hey, I'll throw a Psychic type attack, or an Earthquake will become neutral, and Zoroark has a chance to survive and set up. Fighting types are a little interesting. Fighting types, you know, they're weak against Psychic, but they're also weak against Fairy. So if you throw out a Fairy type, or if they throw out a Fairy type move against your Zoroark, it kind of backfires, but at the same time, as long as you're not bringing it into a position where it can be bad, you have that extra level of thought for Zoroark, it can also be very strong, and that's where Zoroark needs to just kind of be aware of what it does, that you can use it as a Pokemon that might look intimidating. It might force the opponent out. That if you disguise it as an Aegislash, a Mawile, a Kangaskhan, a Salamence, any one of the super amazing high tier threats, that Zoroark, they might be like, oh shit, I need to switch out because I don't want to handle this, and then Zoroark comes in and sets up. Also, Zoroark has moved U-turn. U-turn can keep its identity hidden for a while as well. That it comes in, it U-turns, and then it switches out if it's faster before the opponent even knew what was going on. And then you could switch out into the real Pokemon. They're like, wait, was that Zoroark? Was that the other thing? But you also have to be aware of Zoroark's moves as well. If you're using a move like Night Slash or Night Daze or something, the opponent can immediately catch on like, wait, that Pokemon doesn't know that move. That must be Zoroark. Now I'm going to play around it like that. So you have to not give yourself away by trying to keep your opponent just guessing while setting up, and there are a lot of opportunities for that. That Zoroark can be very strong because it has Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, and Agility. That with the Focus Sash combo, it becomes terrifying. That Nasty Plot, okay, they whiff their hit, they attack, they even land it, something like that happens, Focus Sash is going to keep you alive. Remember, you have a really good speed, so now you have a huge boosted on the Nasty Plot, and you're going to be really strong from there with decent coverage. Same thing on Swords Dance. That Swords Dance is going to give you a really awesome boost, and you have a good amount of coverage, you can play it up really well and be strong from there. Or Agility. A lot of people just talk about Nasty Plot Swords Dance, that this Pokemon is very unpredictable. It can become suddenly special, suddenly physical. Or, I was thinking, might as well play it with Agility, that you could just invest both attack and defense, go with a modest nature, and now you would just have to like run off of coverage and super effective hits. But with the Agility, you can play it mixed. You also wouldn't want modest, my bad. What's the other one? The Rash Nature. Rash Nature, that way you're going to have the high attack, high special attack, and it's going to look pretty solid. Or you can even play it in one of those other ones. Like you can make it all physical on a Adamant Nature, something like that. You can make it all special on a modest nature, and then you can also invest into the hit points. So now it's bulkier, it's surprising, and if you're using it to soak up hits and catch your opponent off guard, now you can turn around some really strong attacks. For a Special Zoroark has some good coverage under its belt that you can go with Night Daze, Flamethrower, Extra Sensory, Hidden Power Ice. If you get Hidden Power Ice, very excellent. Flamethrower and Hidden Power Ice, very strong together. Night Daze is an awesome move. More power than Dark Pulse, slightly less accuracy, but 95 accuracy isn't the worst. And then a 40% chance to lower your target's accuracy. So that you hit them strong, and if it lowers their accuracy, now you can actually get away with that move. But it does show your hand that if you want your opponent to know your Zoroark and it's okay, use Night Daze. If not, try to go for the other coverage. Also, Zoroark gets Hyper Voice. Hyper Voice, just high damage, reliable, normal type move. It'll be a two-hit KO on a lot of things, but it's just a little extra thing to have on. Or Grass Knot. Grass Knot, if you can't get a hold of the hidden power, is still pretty strong. I'm not a huge fan of Grass Knot because there aren't a lot of super heavy water-type Pokemon, and it does work with ground-type Pokemon, though. Like, because when I was looking at Greninja with Grass Knot, Greninja can already hit a lot of the things with Grass Knot anyways. So, for Greninja, it's like 4 times effective Pokemon. On Zoroark, you can use it against the ground types, the rock types, the water types, and all the things like that. And also, if they have both, like Rhyperior, Swampert, those 4 times can catch your opponent off guard, Grass Knot them, and then their day is done. So that can work out. I also mentioned Life Orb here, that if you're not going for setup, you don't need to have a Focus Sash. Just try to go for Life Orb Hidden Sweeper, that you can set up if they switch wrong, or if you just get the right play. You bring in Zoroark at the right time, they stay in, and then you have a super effective move on them. KO. It's Life Orb, bonus damage, on top of a high special attack. It can play out pretty well while having a good amount of speed. And then at the same time, we can also look at the physical side of Zoroark. Zoroark has some good physical coverage. You have the U-turn, knockoff, low kick, and then you can go for Swords Dance. Actually, Zoroark doesn't have the best physical coverage. Like, this is kind of it, but it still does pretty well. You have the Dark, you have Fighting, you have the Bug, and then it's going to swap you out. So if you just go with knockoff and low kick after Swords Dance, you're kind of just going to go for the huge bonus damage procs off of itself with the knockoff, and then go for coverage from there. And that's kind of it. It does make it to where Zoroark isn't as used physically, but it can create some opportunities that work out really well. And I'm trying to look for some other things. So yeah, like, not the strongest on that. But you can also give it something really cool because it gets access to Pursuit. Pursuit can make it to where if your opponent is going to switch out, it doubles the power and hits them before they switch out, which means that you can maybe catch an opponent off guard even more with Zoroark's ability after setting up or something like that. And then we also, actually Pursuit works really well in Zoroark because Zoroark is revealed, and then they're like, oh, I can't deal with Zoroark, I'm going to switch out, boom, do some extra damage, get a lot of pain on them. But then Zoroark also has a lot of other strength. That Sucker Punch, you can run that instead of U-turn, instead of Pursuit, depending on what you have, because if you want to keep the Swords Dance, that works. U-turn on Swords Dance. Makes sense, doesn't make sense. It depends on how you want to play it, really. You can also go with Life Orb on all these options. And then Sucker Punch. Swords Dance up, Sucker Punch, stab, huge damage before your opponent can attack. Don't have to play as much on the speed, and that can work out really well. Also, Taunt. You can put Taunt on a physical set, lead with Zoroark. You can use Copycat in doubles. It has a lot of potential with Taunt Copycat. You can set things up like that. It could just be fun to steal your opponent's move. That you come in with Zoroark, you Copycat the last move they use, and now they have no idea what's going on. And Trick. People will Scarf Zoroark and go for Trick shutdowns and then play it out from there. Zoroark is just a very diverse Pokemon that has a lot of potential. Catch your opponent off guard, be an unpredictable threat, and I think it's all in that ability. That if people really put a lot of thought into their team, put a lot of thought into their Zoroark, and then like think about the best way of optimizing it, you can get free setup, and then Zoroark, it becomes terrifying. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you enjoyed the video, Jonathan, and I hope you all have a nice day. Zoroark, pretty awesome. Can be very strong.